we'll just start. And if someone comes along who can actually show how this works, then that's great. So we do have the Discord up. Discord settings. I think I had the output set to my mic. That's right. Overview. But I don't see those controls. Not sure where those are. Let's see here. Should be at the bottom left. Okay, I'll take a look. Bottom left. User settings or edit channel? Permissions, overview. There is a gear icon, privacy and safety, voice and video. There we go. Output device. Microphone is that. Output device will be. Okay. Try talking now. No. Not getting there. Voice and video. Microphone is the input. Output. Let's try these ones. There we go. I've got you. Yeah, it was my. Yeah, there we go. It's on my side. That should be coming through the stream. Okay.
I forgot to mute the stream before I started talking, so I'm like hearing double talk. I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now.
No worries.
Yeah, that's the first thing you learn.
Thank you, Cameron88. I've been regrowing it.
Yeah, it's more of that guy from The Last of Us.
The Joel. The Joel beard.
Yeah.
There we go.
Shit.
Well, thanks for jumping in. I had a thought tonight that instead of doing the next image, I'm actually at a point on the next image that I'm not ready to, for the first time in a while, I feel like I need to wrestle with it a little bit before showing it, because I kind of want it to be a little bit more of a special reveal. So I actually thought I would make an attempt at something I've been wanting to do for a while, and that's to work on something just that's a little bit more rendered, and that's a little bit more of like a splash image, like something
like an
that's
illustration
instead of the actual frames.
Panel.
Yeah, exactly. So I was thinking of just doing the trio, just kind of in cool poses, that kind of thing. So
yeah, man, do a cover variant. There you go.
Exactly. There you go. Do my own cover variant. I always used to, and it's funny because I always used to hate those a lot, because I would, you see this beautiful cover and you think, oh, that's gonna be awesome, and you open it up and oh, okay, it's just a normal comic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like
Nah, dude, covers are what sells.
Yeah, it's
comics,
true.
man.
It's true.
That's how anyone like picks up a new series.
Oh, yeah.
You see the cover, oh, that's sick as shit.
Let's
grab
be true.
that. It's mediocre. Okay.
Yeah.
There's actually that's how I picked up Madame Mirage, which was drawn by Kenneth Rocafor. He did the coloring, drawing, and inking, and his art is insane. He's so good.
That's definitely been my experience with the covers. Is like not like they've looked awesome, but also they depicted scenes that look interesting. And then like when it's like for example, there was like a Star Wars comic series, and there was a scene with like there was like in a spaceship hangar, and there was General Grievous, and he was like, shit. But in the comic, like he's only got like there's only like 2 slides that he's in, and it's not on a spaceship, and it's like it's completely fabricated.
Yeah.
cool.
General Grievous is one of the most criminally like underdeveloped characters in any series. Like he's so cool in that mini series that they made
Yeah.
prior to the release of episode 2
Yeah, and
or
then
episode 3 was it? I don't
I
remember
remember
which
that.
one. I think it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
episode 3, yeah. Like he was actually menacing and like threatening in that, and then they did
Yeah.
the Revenge of the Sith, and it's like, who the hell is this guy?
I know. It's so sad. Well, or like you get I think we maybe even talked about this character last time, but Asajj Ventress, who
Yeah, we did talk about this.
yeah,
last time,
okay,
yeah.
okay, yeah, who's just like an awesome piece of concept art. That's like, how could you not have that as a character?
Yeah, I mean, at least they did use her in the miniseries pretty heavily.
Yeah, she got her day, which was good.
But yeah, seeing her on the big screen would have been awesome.
Yeah.
She's quite heavily featured in the 3D animated series.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
See, I haven't watched that yet, and I keep hearing that it's like actually very good.
It is, yeah.
I've heard the same.
Especially the later it goes, I hear it gets to be like much more like
Yeah.
easily consumed by older people, because I know like
Yeah.
at the start it's like it's a kid show, and then as it goes further it's like this is not a kid show.
I think that's probably one of the reasons why it ended up getting cancelled, because it kind of like outgrew the Cartoon Network brand. And like, it did end up having like half of its final season getting like saved by Netflix, but ultimately it didn't get to be seen through to the end. But yeah, I think it's probably one of my favorite pieces of Star Wars content.
Cameron88 says, General Grievous is amazing lore-wise. He was a mighty warrior who traded it all for power to protect his people, but in the end lost it all for the power he sought after. It's so tragic.
Well, that's the expanded universe.
Yes, that's gone now, right? Is that gone too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
He's a lot more two-dimensional now. He was just like he was a bad guy and he wanted to be better at killing people, so he's now got a cybernetic body, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, but officially all the EU that isn't part of Disney canon is now like it's Legends. It's Star Wars Legends.
Yep.
Rip Kotor.
Yeah, fucking dude, that's one of my greatest gaming disappointments is there won't be like a proper KOTOR 3.
Well, I mean, just because it's not canon doesn't mean they won't do it. Like, I mean, they're still keeping SWTOR up.
Yeah, I mean, like it's Legends now, and that's why they won't do it. It's more that because they sunk so much was sunk into SWTOR, it's unlikely that they'll actually have a KOTOR 3, especially since like a lot of what came or was supposed to come after KOTOR 2 was sort of like discussed in SWTOR. Like a lot of like what happened between the end of KOTOR 2 and SWTOR is covered by the lore. Which is fine, but those games were so good. They were so and they like are still really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm recently finding myself I'm listening to the soundtrack to that every day because it's in my work playlist. So I'm constantly thinking, well, not constantly, but it's in my thoughts.
Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah. Especially like the Bastilla theme, the Bastilla safe house theme. That's really good.
Or the Evan Hawke theme. Oh, love it.
I unfortunately, and this sounds weird, probably coming from me, but KOTOR actually got Leonardo DiCaprio'd for me. In that same sense that if you were in junior high around the time that Titanic came out, you could not appreciate Leonardo DiCaprio because everyone was just like, Leo. So you kind of just on principle, you couldn't like it, you couldn't support him, you couldn't all that sort of stuff. Yeah, and so at the time that KOTOR came out, I was hard into Jedi Knight, and Jedi Knight gave you so much freedom that KOTOR kind of felt to me when I was playing it like
restricted.
I was pulled back a few layers from it, And so rather than just
Yeah.
being a Jedi and like when I want to force push, I force push, and when I want to swing my saber, I swing my saber, KOTOR from a gameplay perspective felt like I was submitting request forms to do cool stuff.
Yeah, I will like the gameplay style of KOTOR is not like super engaging, but I don't know, man. It more than made up for it with like the story and the the characters. It was just like so engaging that way.
Yeah.
Also, I think that whilst the graphics are really dated, I think they have their charm, and also the animations. Like I can remember all of the little gestures that they do, like because they keep repeating them. And,
Yeah.
Like there's the angry one, and it's like they can repeat it like
Yeah,
5
yeah.
times in one sentence. And like it's like a distinctive way that like all the NPCs would like they would kind of like wave their head about in like one direction and, like, through like that one side. Very distinctive mannerisms. Oh, so what's your process for blocking this out? Are you doing like a thumbnail view at the top left?
Well, that was a quick little scribble, and right now I'm kind of just feeling I'm fine, just jumping right into it. Oh, hey, Marvin Marbles. Just gonna jump right into it. I'm not too concerned. This is just something like I kind of want it to be a little bit classic, like a movie poster kind of deal, or something like that,
Right,
like
okay.
old school adventure movie posters. So we'll see.
Moving back to the Clone Wars, I think I have no problem with Spider Darth Maul. I think from a design point of view, that was pretty cool.
With Spider Darth Maul.
Yeah.
With his
in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. And someone did a cosplay of that.
Oh, nice.
It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Spider Darth Maul. Huh.
Yeah. Well, it's actually Junkyard Spider Darth Maul, because otherwise it could be like regular Spider Darth Maul.
right.
Junkyard Darth.
Do you guys remember Shadow of the Empire?
Oh, hell yeah, with Dash Rendar.
Yeah, man. That
Yeah.
game pissed me off so much when I was a kid. That fucking junkyard level, God. Fighting IG-88 killed me. Oh, I must have gone through that shit like.
IG-88 was
2,000 times.
Definitely like a 90s LucasArts game antagonist, because he was in that, and he was in some of the some of the Jedi Knight. He was in Jedi Knight 2, and he just infuriated you. So it's like anyone who played those games, they see that tin can head, and they just.
Jedi Knight was a great game, but I just feel like I really want them to like redo or have a Jedi Knight style game in this generation of consoles.
Oh, me too.
And the PC, all that.
Totally.
Like, that would be fantastic.
I would be there.
Just a more free-form Star Wars RPG.
Yep.
Which, like, it's weird to say that, because, like, you'd think that people would be, like, all Star Wars out at this point. And to an extent, like, I kind of am. But also, like, I could probably consume Star Wars for the rest of my life. It would, like, at some points, it would be, like, begrudging, like, I gotta eat my vegetables, like, I need to do my Star Wars right now, but I'd still do it.
Yeah, I recently went to see Solo, purely because I heard rumors that... Wait, have you guys seen Solo?
Yeah, I just saw it last week.
Okay.
No, but talk away, and we'll just give everyone else the chance to say, spoiler warning, jump out.
Okay, I'll give you a chance to, like, put your hands in your ears, or mute the stream. Yeah, because I heard rumors that Darth Maul would be, like, at the end of it, and he was, and it was really cool. They used the same voice actor as the one who was in the Clone Wars and Rebels, and there was some cool Easter eggs. They kind of validated the animated series in a way, because, like, there were Easter eggs both from the Clone Wars in the sense that he had his legs that he got from Pre Vizsla and the Mandalorians, and also his lightsaber from Rebels.
Oh, shit.
Oh, okay.
It was really cool. it was weird. It was weird seeing a live action character, like someone who was like a live action character, talk to someone who was mainly only has animated appearances.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was
Um,
disappointed.
yeah, I was in the camp of people that didn't think the movie should have been made. I was one of the people that thought like this movie shouldn't have existed. It was a Star Wars movie that no one really wanted. Like no one needs to know what Solo was doing before the movies. Like
Yeah.
everything we need to know about Han Solo exists within the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And I still think that's true. But
Yeah.
I will say that I enjoyed the movie a lot more than I thought that I would.
Like,
I enjoyed it. The fact that I enjoyed it at all is like shocking to me.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a solid movie.
It was
But,
structurally, it was just like miles away a better movie than The Last Jedi. Like it was a better movie. Like from a technical like, you know, nuts and bolts standpoint, like way better movie.
Okay.
As far as the Star Wars movie goes, better Star Wars movie. Still not like a great Star Wars movie, but like I said, I enjoyed it, which is like that's enough for me right now.
Yeah, well, I don't think it hurts really. Like it's cool. Like you can, it wasn't necessarily necessary, but like I think that the anthology movies kind of that's probably how they're being treated. Like it's just like a little extra thing that you throw on the side.
Well, they're stopping. They're
Yeah,
putting a stop on all the standalone movies for right now.
that's a shame like,
Because
yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say because it underperformed. Like it didn't perform as well as they hoped it would,
It's a shame.
which I think they should have anticipated, frankly.
Yeah.
Especially after the way The Last Jedi like flopped
Mhm.
in a way. Not that it flopped. It had historic box office rating, but like it was just not well received. And I think they should have expected that there would be like Star Wars fatigue after that movie.
Mhm.
But I appreciate that they are like taking a step back and reevaluating like what their
Yeah.
standard is going to be.
Because like you can't, I guess like realistically, you can't expect them to churn out a movie every year. I mean, they have been doing that, but
Yeah.
actually no, because it's been actually, I think it's been less than a year. It's been less than a year since Rogue One. Wait, no, it hasn't. Never mind. Wait.
No, it's been 2 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
I think Rogue One came out the year before last, and then last year was The Last Jedi. So I think part of the problem is that they also released it was like this was a summer movie, and they should have just released it in the winter, but like they have been doing with every Star Wars movie.
Do they intend to release one this year? Because like otherwise, what's the point of just
No.
suddenly?
Episode 9 isn't coming out till next year.
Okay. Because I thought that like the business strategy was like making Christmas the Star Wars time.
See, that's what I thought too. But then they were like, let's just get this one out. I guess they
Yeah.
didn't expect it to do very well or
Like,
something.
oh,
I don't know, man.
nothing. So yeah, I guess that's a good point. Cameron 88. It's have a lot of other blockbuster movies to compete with, and like because it was already not particularly anticipated.
Yeah. Well, I think Disney was also hedging their bets because they released it shortly after Infinity War, which like already they're gonna make bank off of that. Like, why do they care?
Right. Yeah.
But I do like it's kind of a shame that they are like halting the standalone movies because I really liked Rogue One and I think that they have a lot of potential to explore like other avenues of the Star Wars universe that don't revolve around like the main sagas. But I also, like I said, I do appreciate that they're like reevaluating what their standards are going to be when it comes to making these films.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna, if we have to like take a break from Star Wars movies, I think that's fine. And I think we'll get better quality movies as a result of it.
Yeah. I was kind of holding out hopes that like if it's every year, then like they have to revisit the prequel era at some point. Maybe an unpopular opinion, but I really like that era. And,
Well, the thing I do appreciate about it now is when you look at it through the lens of pulp, you can tell what was going on. Like it makes more sense tonally. Like I think when you see that, you know, George Lucas, when he was making the first ones, he was making he was making his own Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
Right.
If you look at the prequels through that lens, like everything from like the little fins on the stormtroopers to like all sorts of stuff, it's just Flash Gordon done with a big budget.
Yeah.
You're referring to the Phase 2 clone troopers with the like they've got that like bit of
Yeah, the little fin ridge on the top of their head,
yeah,
the little Rocketeer embellishment there.
I think it's interesting that like from a design perspective, like how different how the clones differ to the stormtroopers, because the clones are meant to be more defensive and like protective, whereas the stormtroopers are more like supposed to be more like, you know, your
Stormtroopers.
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, stormtroopers. But,
I actually heard this recent talk by this guy who had this interesting perspective, because he's a bit of an art historian and studies a lot of like traditional art and that kind of things, and he was talking about Star Wars from a symbolic perspective, or and like a traditional art perspective,
like a cultural way.
Yeah, and it was kind of interesting to hear that, like, in a lot of ways, Star Wars kind of subverted classic symbolism. Because, like, one example would be that historically, empires have associated themselves with the sun, with brightness. It's like it's a symbol of righteousness in a way. Like dictators of empire, like the heads of empires, emperors. Will have like sun imagery associated with themselves a lot, and they'll be covered in gold and red and white, and it's very much the opposite of how the Emperor in Star Wars presents himself.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of neat to hear some of these different ideas. And maybe someone actually brought this up in a talk too. The idea that in Star Wars, this was just like a student comment or something, but the idea that the Death Star, this like absolute terrifying object of doom, just because it satisfied the script, is just actually this nice soft white sphere. Like, it's kind of actually like the least threatening shape you could possibly make a doomsday device. And so in a way, it's interesting that like Star Wars has kind of like shifted those symbols in people's heads in the modern day.
Yeah, right. Definitely. I think the other thing that I can say for the prequel movies, more than I can say for the new saga or the new trilogy, is that you know, they may have been like awkward and like poorly written and kind of like wonky, but they were at least like written with a unified, or with like a single like artistic creative direction. And there was a plan, like there was a plan for these three movies, like are leading up to this like conclusion, right? This is there is an arc, whereas like these new movies, it just became abundantly clear with the last. I'm pretty sure we had this conversation like a month and a half ago or 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's so clear that they did not have a plan with these movies, and it was just like, pick 3 different directors. You guys get to direct the Star Wars movie. You don't have to worry about continuity. You don't have to worry about like setting up the next movie. Just, you know, do whatever you want. So J.J. Abrams like writes his movie, and then he like leaves all these little plot threads, and then Rian Johnson does his movie, and he like can decide whether or not to take or leave those plot threads, and for the most part he like leaves them all, which is crazy to me. And then so now it's just like this directionless trilogy that is kind of a mess. Like, and that's disappointing to see. It just like it makes you feel like they were just like using it as a cash grab, as opposed to like,
well, particularly
like,
there was, it's interesting that, like, you know, there was, when making the prequels, George did definitely kind of take it his own way, but at the same time, a lot of the stuff that happens in there is actually stuff that was written about in the spectrum of fan or like, you know, extended materials. Like, information about where Anakin fell into lava and why and all that sort of stuff. Like he could cherry pick it, but it came from material. It's just interesting then that like moving forward, Disney decided like we want nothing of what's been written. It's like Lord of the Rings. When the Lord of the Rings movies came out, they're one of the most perfectly designed movies you've ever seen from a visual standpoint. Like you can't get better than that. It's perfect. But it's also a movie that had like 50 to 60 years of visual development. It has mountains and mountains of artists pouring their heart and soul into this. So you could just take the very best off the top and say, yep, there we go. Let's make it.
Yeah.
Cameron Idiot says, do I ever read Myths and Cultures Pantheon's lore when looking for design story inspiration? If it's relevant, or if I think it's relevant, yeah, for sure.
Like the Tellurion astrological model. I won't try any further.
Good.
Oh,
So, with this picture, is there any is there more like story?
Oh yeah, this is not a key moment.
Okay.
This is just characters.
So
I'm not sold on these poses yet, so I feel like I need to make them a bit more dynamic.
Right. So like, is there like, are you gonna accentuate any over the others?
Am I gonna Sorry, say that again.
Are you gonna like accentuate any of the others? Like make like the robot the first read, the boy the second, girl the third, etc. Is there no
hierarchy?
Yeah.
Well, I think from here, I don't know if it reads already who's who.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. This one is really more just fast and loose. I just kind of felt like tonight I'll take it easy.
Not too much.
To be honest, some of this work is I don't want to do just because I just want to be rendering. But you can't really be rendering until you've got everything kind of in place. Well, I mean, technically I could
Like just go straight into
just
paint?
start painting, but I would every single time I've tried to do that in my entire artistic life, it has failed miserably.
Yeah, I think there's what's his name? Marco Djudjevic.
Yeah.
He can't. He has to get every single line perfect until we're going into painting.
And he does.
Yeah, he doesn't have to try very hard. Well, I think it's good to do that too. Like, if you're gonna do a painting, like digital or traditional, if your underdrawing is, loose or like, even like furthermore like just shit,
Yeah.
the painting is gonna be the same. Like you cannot like, unless you've been painting for like decades, you can't just like wing it when you go into a painting. You go into like a full illustration, because it's just like there are gonna be so many things that are happening in it. You're gonna get distracted. You're gonna be drowning in details, and you need to have that underdrawing. You need to have that foundation to build off of, or it's just gonna be bad. And people who are looking at it are gonna know that like something went wrong in the ideation stage.
Or at least to know how to draw with paint in that way that is, because when you say that, because I'm just thinking of like watching James Gurney paint, and he starts straight with paint, but you can tell like he's done it so much that he knows how to lay down useful first marks.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's like oil painters. Like if you ever watch oil painters, they know how to start just like with paint.
Yeah.
They know how to just go hit it, because they know how to like start with locking in like base values, and then they go in and add details. And with like and to be fair, certain materials are much easier to be corrective with than others. But you still need to be like, you need to be confident when you're laying down your marks. Otherwise, it's gonna look crappy. And if the best way to make you yourself feel confident about what you're doing is if you have a strong foundation to go off of.
Yeah. I think Cameron Idiot's right. Marco's theory is that he prefers the imperfection of line over perfection, as it gives it more life.
Yeah, I was watching. I actually
which ties into that.
watched a video on YouTube. It was like a 1-minute video where he talked about how like a lot of artists will have like these really swooping lines that are like they're really perfect and like they're really visually appealing, but they're also kind of bland. Whereas he recommends like using, you know, your own like shakiness, your own like imperfection of movement to achieve a more natural look. He was just drawing like a forearm and a hand, I think, and like the difference was crazy.
Yeah. I am going to, just as a heads up here, I'm just going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to just draw her face and do some rendering just as an experiment, just to get a feel for the flavor, so I can get at least some of it in.
Yeah.
So that's the other part of it. Like once you having your underdrawing like ready before you start doing it makes it so it's easier to fix mistakes before you actually get into the more detailed spaces.
Well, I think there is something to be said for like just like knowing when your underdrawing is good enough, and like you don't have to.
You've given yourself enough information.
Yeah, it's like I have a friend who like he kind of just like lays down. Actually, sometimes you just go straight to paint. Like we sometimes paint together, and like whilst I'm like trying to get the line work all like good enough for me to consider dipping my feet into some color, and just like glide in that brush around, and he's already got like something that's got like rendering applied to it in like a very short time. I'm very jealous.
Well, that's the other thing is that people work out their own shortcuts over time.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, obviously, like all these tips are very generalized to apply to like everyone, but people find their own ways of working that work best for them. Now, like, granted, doing certain things will just improve your stuff no matter what, even if you have the shortcuts worked around. Like using reference, like you should always be using reference. There's no reason not to use reference, especially if it's something that you don't have a lot of experience drawing. Like if you try to flub it or manufacture it from memory, it's just not going to look right. And now over time you get that you start to have the human, like, for example, like you start to have shortcuts about how to draw certain things, especially the more you draw them. Like the human body is like a perfect example. Like if you're a concept artist or an artist in general, you've probably drawn the figure like 10,000 times, and in that process you learn ways to like shortcut it and make it look believable still. But there are always like going to be poses or like weird perspectives that you're going to need help with. Like that, like foreshortening isn't quite as like easy to just imagine. So you just go to reference. It makes it way better. But
yeah, there are a couple shots in Tellurion that definitely my wife posed for.
Yeah, there's an artist. Oh God, what's his name? He does a lot of cover art. And I think I forget what his name is, but he actually like started working out and like getting jacked so he could pose for his own reference photos.
Well, I know Frazetta did that.
Yeah,
that was part of why he stayed in shape, and I have known. It'd be funny if Reagan was in here because he talks about that a lot. But he had the advantage too of being in the Marines.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
that's gonna drive me crazy.
Wait, so that guy in the Marine, has he been in the stream before?
He has.
Oh wait, I think on my first stream, I think he was in here.
Yeah, Reagan Lodge.
Right. he the guy you were referring to that like he was like, okay, I've done the figure drawing. What's next?
It wasn't him, but he does actually still have a very disciplined attitude. There was someone else too. Like I said, I've been lucky enough to meet a few.
Like, I guess the military discipline gives you a good base.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, back to your original question of when you know an underdrawing is done, I would say when it feels right. Don't like, because that's the thing. Like you could, and that just comes from just doing it a lot. Because it's easy for me to say like when it feels right, but there are always gonna be times where you're like, is this right? Like, should I keep working on it? Don't overwork it, because you're just gonna like, because then you're gonna have too many details in the underdrawing and not enough like room to, work around, to experiment or mess around when you're actually doing the painting. But also don't just have like stick figures and like really ambiguous blobs to like imply like, oh, this is a tree back here. It's like, okay, well, that's not going to help you in like 3 hours when you're finally painting and you're like, what was it supposed to be again?
Was it a lawnmower?
I mean, to be fair, digital makes it a lot easier to work like that, to work in ways that like shortcuts things for you, because you can have layers. Like you can have like a far background layer, you can have a big background layer, you can have a close background layer, you can have a foreground layer for things that like fall in front of the subject of the drawing. You have a layer for characters, and you have a layer for like the clothing on those characters. You can make it as involved a process or as uninvolved a process as you want it to be.
Yeah, like I've been drawing ships for like the last month because I don't feel confident tackling them because I've never really drawn them before, and like there's this one thing I want to visualize, but like I kind of want to get into making the pictures. Like I've concepted a ship, and like I don't even feel like it needed to be designed because like it's just a regular semi-sticker ship. But like I've made a concept of it that like is completely just flat color and there's no rendering at all, and like it will probably serve its purpose now, but like for like as reference for like the different like story scenes that involve it. But I kind of feel like I'm kind of like I'm cutting it loose too early because like I could make it into a beautiful portfolio piece.
That's yeah. I mean, like, nothing's stopping you from doing that except yourself. But also, you're gonna do a million drawings in your life.
Yeah.
So not everything has to be like a beautifully rendered illustration or.
Plus, you can always go back. Like we had, there's this one guy on Dragon Age who, after the project was done, after Inquisition was done, he moved to a different company, and he just took a few of his favorite concepts that he did, and he actually just went back in and gave them more love.
Well, that's good. It's not like after like a certain amount of time your pieces get like locked. Like it's that you can't.
Well, especially if you save the Photoshop files or whatever program you're working in. If you save those art files or you save like a scan of something, you can always go back and make it nicer.
Hey, Nablum. And the man with no screen name, I adjusted the levels a little bit. Hopefully that's a bit better.
Is this okay? Question mark? I'll take the luck of a nosy, yes.
Well, you gotta wait 30 seconds for the
Exactly,
delay.
yeah.
Right, yeah. That's a fair point. I've given literally zero opportunity. Oh well, that's just my strategy.
I just recently did a round of drawings kind of like this, so I'm wanting to at work. So I was just kind of wanting to do my own characters like this.
Ooh, like a round of like splash art.
Yeah, a little bit more like finished portraits.
Was it for marketing purposes or like promotional?
What can I say? For internal use? No,
Gotcha.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it might find its way into an artwork or something. If it's lying around and that's cool enough.
One day I will be happy to release all of them.
What's your what's Bioware's policy on releasing art for projects? How long does the project have to be like released where you can release the artwork?
As long as the project has been released, they're good to go. As long as you have the right copyright information on there.
Gotcha.
Like any of the images for Bioware that I've released, you'll notice in the bottom there's like copyright EA, Bioware, blah blah blah. Yeah, as long as that stuff's out there, they're fine with it. Because
I just noticed in the past, like you released some stuff from like some general concept art for like Mass Effect 2 and 3 in the past that like came out like years after those games were actually released.
Oh yeah,
and I was
yeah,
just like, just out of curiosity if there was like some kind of non-disclosure sort of thing going on. Or
not so much. Well, I did get in a little bit of trouble for that. I got a finger wagging. Just because I did release that batch without actually talking to anybody. They weren't terribly concerned because it also, was a ton of, it ended up kind of going through the news cycle, the video game news cycles, and was just not, no, like, there's no such, what is it? Good news is, no, there's no such thing as bad press.
All news is good news.
Something like that. They just said, let us know first. Maybe we can time it out a little bit, or like figure out how to use it in a more intentional way. But yeah, no, they were fine with it. And the cool thing is, like, they've found that they've come to understand, not that they didn't before, but I think everybody understands that, there are just those people who are interested in that stuff, and it's just it's similar to cosplay. It's like, why would we try to put a stop to any of it? Because all it's doing is raising brand awareness. Like, if people want to look at the art for the game and the game's out and they can go buy it, like, great, go for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just as long as the thing's actually released. So like, I was able to release some Dragon Age Inquisition images because someone released a video that showed some of that art on the walls in the background. So I was like, can I? They're sure, fine, okay.
Cat's out of the bag, go for it.
Exactly.
Oh, since like a lot of your stuff never makes it out to the public, do you kind of take any chance you can get to get past the embargo of NDA to, like, I guess like this is stuff that's like been released, but like I've heard a lot that like sometimes people like won't go through the trouble of getting permission to release an image after the project's been released.
Well, I have I've been in this long enough that I kind of know what I can and can't get away with. So I know enough that, once the game, post release date, go for it. Like, whatever you're up for, just like throw it out there. So I've never really found any sort of like downside to, like, I haven't found any bad situations there. Yeah, it's been pretty good. I mean, that's the thing too. Like, you just got to be smart about it.
Yeah.
Like, because there's some stuff that
Just have to be smart about it.
it's, there's some stuff that it would be pretty obvious that this wouldn't be good for myself as an artist or the company or whatever else like that to release, or things like that. Not like, crazy terrible stuff, but just stuff that we can obviously use in the future and probably shouldn't just throw out there so that we can kind of never use it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that.
Like there's I was mentioning the Island of Misfit Creatures folder.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of that stuff I wouldn't post because it's like, no, I want to actually do something with that.
How much of what doesn't get used, or like, okay, let me put it this way: like, if a concept isn't used for the finished product, does that still your intellectual property, or does that belong to the company at that point?
Everything that I make in that building is theirs. So
Gotcha.
every doodle, every napkin sketch, every rejected concept art, it's still their property. So that's the thing. Like, I mean, like in the case of Tellurion, this is something that I'm making exclusively in my own studio at home.
Yeah.
I don't take it in. I don't work on it at work. It's like completely separate in that.
If you worked on it at work, would that mean that like you forfeited ownership of like the entire thing, or just that one piece?
I don't know, but I don't want to mess with it.
Because if what you're drawing is like the main character of it, then you're not using his likeness in every other single frame of it.
Yeah.
So now it's like, well, now what?
Yeah. Well, because they have different things like they'd rather you didn't work on other game projects, but if it's something in a different medium that doesn't conflict with them, they're fine. Like I have declared Tellurion legally at work. Like it's filed. They know that I'm working on it. It's like cool.
Right.
Yeah, they gave approval. I talked to lawyers on the phone. Blah blah blah. Explained what I'm doing. And because it's like just a personal project that's just meant to be a book or published or online, they were like, knock yourself out.
Sorry, you have to talk to lawyers? So it's
Yes.
quite a serious thing.
Yeah, they take it pretty seriously. They want it well, and it's honestly like it's just as much for your protection as it is for theirs. Like they just want to make sure that there's no conflict of interest, there's no overlap, and that like if there's ever a dispute or a question about like is this yours, is this theirs, that everyone's
Right.
nodded their heads and signed on the dotted line. And
Right, because like there's the threat also, and this is kind of outlandish, but like maybe you're working on a project for another company that you're about to start working at,
yeah,
and like if that's the case, they don't want to be paying you for work you're doing for someone else.
yeah. It's all pretty logical. It's a little intimidating to be talking to lawyers, but it's
Oh, so with like the so what's the difference between the level of detail you're applying to this piece and like the cell shaded ones, like for the panel slides? Because what like new factors are in play?
yeah. Okay, like what are some of the thoughts that are going on? Well, I already feel like I'm making some mistakes here. Like I just wanted to rush into painting this girl's face, to be honest. So I totally just like hammered right in and just like, let's just do it, go for it. Because I would like to actually think of a more compelling lighting scenario than just flat lighting from the top. But I wanted to just kind of explore some volume and get that going. So, but right now, all I'm really thinking is just like let's indicate form. Let's get some indications of form and get the right colors in there.
Okay. It's like is it kind of like the animated movie front cover? Like it's like you're seeing like the 2D. The usually flat lit, like not all flat color characters, blue rendered.
Yeah, exactly. This is very much like the. I still want the characters to look the way that they should. It's just that they would in the comic. It's just that some extra detail has been put on them.
Yeah.
What resolution are you painting at?
This is probably my standard 18 by 34 at 300 DPI.
Okay.
Yeah. 18 by 30, yeah. No, 32 inches by 18 inches at 300 DPI. So right here is 100%, and we'll have to wait for the video to wait 30 seconds, wait for it. Right now, you're looking at 200%, and then it'll jump into...
Also, do you... like I remember in one of your Tellurion, not Tellurion, in one of the R&D fantasy videos, I think one of you brought up like a work method of like zooming out all the way and then like doing as much, like putting as much detail as you can, and then just, like incrementing it slowly until like you're finding like 200 or 300%, and you're just like getting a super crisp line.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good way to do it. I will probably do that throughout. I have obviously this is a totally different kind of image than the usual Tellurion thing. There's zero chance of me coming close to finishing this. So I might periodically just open this one up for a stream and work on it a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
Because right here, I'm painting the hair like in much more broad strokes. Like I'm just kind of going for shape overall.
Yeah. Oh yeah, hair. I guess hair is something that came up in the critique section of the Discord channel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have had.
So it's like,
I have to apologize to everybody because as much as I would love to hang out in there, I just have no time. But okay, so what was the conversation about?
I think it was, so bread and butter. Would you like to take over?
Yeah. So I was basically saying that in my opinion, the easiest way to go about drawing hair, because when you look at hair, it can be daunting when you think, oh, I have to draw every single strand of this hair and it's gonna be like perfectly lit. It's just make it easier on yourself. Look at someone's hair, break it up into chunks that fall in layers. Draw each individual chunk as like a whole block simple shape, then go in and value each individual shape on its own. But make sure they all have like a unified light source.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Totally.
And just give like very simple indication of like strands of hair without actually having to draw every single strand of hair.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that because when you look at someone's hair, you don't see every single strand of hair.
No.
Your eye. I think that's the thing that a lot of people who are just starting out trying to do like really realistic art, that's a trap they fall into, is they feel like they have to capture every single detail on a person's face. Like everyone has to be Chuck Close. Like no. Here's the thing: if you want to achieve like super realistic artwork, while also not killing yourself on like a 12 by 20 foot panel, simplify details, because your eyes naturally do that anyway. Like your eyes are cutting out information as you take it in because your brain needs to like compress space.
Yeah, that's exactly
right. That's why when you first like approach a figure drawing, for example, like a portrait, the first thing you do is like you blur your vision and you block in the basic value, which is like the flat shadow layer. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't worry about anything else, and you go from there.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess you get your squint on.
Good to know there's some wisdom being laid down in there. That's good.
Yeah. There's, I had my the chat box selected for Discord, and there's just like a bunch of V's in there because that's the key I found to my mic.
Oh.
Yeah, I hope I don't actually press that button.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be very confusing for everyone.
It would, yeah. I guess like that's how you can tell when I've been in the stream. So the litmus test. Has there been a stream recently? Yeah, good. So is this this character rendering like kind of like the benchmark for the rest of the piece? Like,
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I think this is about what I'd like to. This level, I wouldn't get any more detailed than this. I wouldn't find that.
At this point, anyway.
Terribly useful. At this, yeah, exactly. Yeah. If this ends up being an image that I keep coming back to, then who knows?
Yeah. The worst part is when you like hone in on like a single spot on a drawing or like an illustration, and you get that like to finished level, and you start drawing the rest of it. And you're like, oh, this isn't gonna work.
Oh no.
The way this is. gotta go back and start over.
Mm.
That's why it's recommended that you do the whole drawing like at each level before you move on to the next stage.
Yes, exactly. What I'm doing here, I don't recommend to anybody do.
Again, digital makes it a lot easier, like a lot more forgiving.
Oh man, if this was real paint, no way.
Yeah.
No way.
See, I have one of those old Wacom tablets that you draw like separately from the computer, and I haven't used it in about 7 or 8 years, I think. So when I was at art school, they had the Cintiqs, and that's what I was using, like exclusively.
Yeah.
And I'm too poor to afford a Cintiq right now, so all my drawing is being done traditionally.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Yeah, like I love drawing traditionally. I love pencils.
Yeah.
But
well, and honestly, that's the best way to do art school.
yeah.
I mean, it would be great to be able to buy everything, but I definitely that was. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
It's a character building way to go through it.
But yeah, so it's like it's been great for maintaining the skills, but I'm not doing like any finished drawings, like any finished illustrations in my sketchbooks for the time being, because I don't have the time to do it traditionally, and B, like it would be just such an involved process.
Yeah. Oh, there is some sort of raid in the chat. Hey, everybody. I have no idea what that means.
I think it means another streamer is hosting you,
Oh, that's awesome.
and or they have sent their viewers to your chat, basically.
Well, then that's welcome. Awesome. Welcome to our... Raid also sounds like such an aggressive kind of thing when it's like you show up and it's basically just this like casual conversation between a couple artists just chilling out, watching me paint hair gently. It's like a bunch of Mad Max bandits just like jumped into a quilting circles group, like, what's going on? Oh, hi. Do you want some shortbread?
they thrash around for a bit and then they quietly eventually quietly.
We'll go.
Take notes.
Yeah. This is welcome to our old lady book club.
Let's see, color these hair things here.
What's your least favorite thing to draw? Like, what's the thing where you get like when you have to draw, you're like, oh, I have to draw this now.
Cars.
What's it, like
Cars.
Yeah, okay.
No question, it's cars. I hate drawing cars so much. Just because, and it's because they are something that I don't care about at all. Like, I could not,
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys that couldn't tell you the difference between one car and the next. Like, I just could not possibly care less. And so when the time comes to draw it, it's one of those cases where I know that someone who loves cars, and I know artists who love cars, and they will draw lovingly all the details, like the differences between them. They can draw them so confidently. And I just know, like, oh, this is going to be an uphill research battle where, like, if I'm going to draw this thing, I need to, like, learn all sorts of stuff that I'm just not going to retain.
Yeah.
It's happened a few times where, like, an illustration's required it. And I'm thankful for it that we live in the age now of, like, Google SketchUp where you can just open the 3D warehouse and download, like, a whole bunch of car models that people have made.
Oh yeah, people like it's crazy. They just they spend their free time designing these models, and then they just put it up for free. Like, just take it. Go ahead.
It's unreal. They're angels.
Have you ever used? There's a digital program that I used a lot in art school. It was called Manga Studio 10, I think.
I've heard of it.
That thing was so good. It was so useful. Like, I was floored by how versatile it was. And it, like, Photoshop is great. It's like the industry standard. It's perfect. It has everything you need to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
But Manga Studio is like designed specifically for like digital painting, for like drawing digitally. So it has like so many features that just don't exist in other programs. Like, they have a perspective mode where you can set up like
right
a 2 or 3 point perspective, and it gives you the guidelines right off the bat. They're like, that's just one of the many features that I can remember off the top of my head. But they have like, really awesome brush presets for like oil painting and like watercolors, where they like will blend realistically as you paint over them.
Right.
It's like
It's kind of like
that's
how where
that, yeah.
Photoshop is like every update for Photoshop, it just makes it more and more clear that they care about the photographers and they don't kick out the painters.
Yeah.
That like clearly like the painting side is not really their concern. So it sounds like Manga Studio is probably a little bit more of like the no. It's all the stuff that you wish Photoshop did.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Or like Corel Painter. Like that's another great program that I used to love
Mm-hmm.
when I was still doing digital stuff, when I still had the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I love Photoshop, but there are just some things that it doesn't do well, or it
Yeah.
doesn't do well enough, and it's just like there are some awesome replacements for it.
Oh, hey,
Like,
that you just kind of reminded me. I don't know if now that we've got some people rating, if they're still hanging out, just to talk about something art. I actually kind of wanted to bring this up with people in the stream, just to I don't know, have a chat about it. There's not maybe much to say about it, but I just thought it was interesting. It was something that I posted in my Instagram stories. There was this cool thing that I took my kids to see The Incredibles 2.
ooh, yeah, I just saw that. I saw your Instagram post.
Okay, cool. So I'll just bring it up just for those who don't know. There's in The Incredibles 2. This isn't really a spoiler because this is actually in the trailer. There's a point where Helen is in a hotel and she's away from her family, and that's very much like what this story moment is about. Like she's very much away from. She's very much away from this family. Oh, and to answer Grimku's question, tonight I just felt like doing something a little different. So I've been wanting to do something very rendered with Tellurion, and so I just figured this would be a good chance to do it. And eventually I'll the next stream I'll probably go back to it, and we'll see how it goes. Just trying it out. But yeah, so in The Incredibles 2, there's this abstract painting on the wall that effectively looks like this, and we'll wait for the stream to actually catch up with it, but. The idea is that, so Helen's in this hotel. She's separated from her family. And it's just, they don't draw attention to it, really. It just sits there in the background. It's just a piece of hotel art. But if you know who Mr. Incredible and Vi and Dash and Jack and Helen are, it's like every opportunity to tell the story. And one of the Pixar artists actually posted on her Instagram recently some paintings that she did for the movie that were like these stormy seas. And the stormy sea paintings are put up in the crappy little motel that the whole family's staying in after the big upset. So after they've lost their house and they don't know what they're going to do next, and everything's uncertain. Right. There's these beautiful stormy seas in the background. So it's just a really awesome and kind of inspiring moment. I was like in the middle of the movie. I was like, oh, it's the story is happening right there. That's awesome. That's So I really admired that. So I don't really know if I have questions about that, or if I just wanted to bring it up and like geek out and say that was cool, and I want to do that.
Oh yeah, I think that's a great way like to emphasize like visual storytelling. You just need to you have a limited amount of space to use to tell your story.
Mm-hmm.
You have the frame, you have the size of the frame to express your story and the length of the film or whatever. Yeah. So it's important that you use that space as economically as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mara Parkhurt says, I love that it stays in the background, though. A detail that actually tells a lot about the plot if you look close enough. And it makes me want to... There was the only one that I actually really noticed strongly. I want to go back and watch the whole thing again and just pay attention only to the background.
Just favorites come out on Netflix and go through frame by frame.
Oh yeah, totally.
I'm personally now I'm a big proponent of sometimes the curtains are just blindfold or there's just blue philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also I think that there is value in every choice that you make to some extent should serve the plot. Should serve the story you're telling. There shouldn't, especially in a visual storytelling medium, there shouldn't be too many wasted details.
Yeah, well, I've become a big believer in the idea that you uh, y- you can be intentional. If you can be intentional, why not just be intentional?
Right.
So, like the idea of in cinematography, like when you start learning about cinematography and what the people do in there, so much of it is just making a choice, and it's not necessarily like the best choice or the most perfect choice, but it's just as long as it's just the fact that rather than just plunking the camera down wherever, they think about like what camera angle supports this moment and tells us more about the character.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like the more and more times you can ask that, like, what would be the best way to do this, or how could I help support what's going on here, the better.
Yeah, and like going back to that, like sometimes the curtains just blue philosophy. Like if you look at like movies with good cinematography,
Thanks,
and
Grimke.
I'm like specifying movies with good cinematography, you'll go if you like take screenshots like
Oh yeah.
every couple of minutes and like looks back through them all, you'll see like the palette, like the color palette is so evident from scene to scene,
Mm-hmm.
and like it follows an arc as the story progresses. And like if a room is decorated a certain way, if a
Yeah.
set is decorated a certain way, it's because it's supposed to match that palette. It's supposed to match the tone of that point in the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, that's like movies with good cinematography, good set design, stuff
Yeah.
like that. But like there's small details that you don't need to tell a good story, but they set great stuff apart from like okay stuff.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So those people just decided let's tell the story. Why waste it?
Yeah.
Well, that's one
Especially
thing
when it costs you nothing to do it, right?
Well, that's
if there's
yeah.
no reason not to do it, just do it.
Or even if it costs like the bare minimum of time of like saying, is there a chance? Is there something we could do here, rather than just racing right in? Because I know that I've been guilty of that in the past. Of like, you know, it's just no time. Just draw. Just come up with it. Okay, fine, whatever. It's not a big deal. When even just like 5 minutes of reading or asking questions would have totally given a massive boost.
Yeah.
Well, this story that I tell, I've told fairly often of the Geth in Mass Effect. Were just kind of designed before some of the story was figured out, and like thinking in retrospect and how I would do it now would be thanks Juan Dahmer. Yeah, okay. That if we had held off until we knew a little bit more about the story, there were so many more intentional choices that could have been made.
Yeah.
Because what we designed was just sort of like AI or like robotic cannon fodder.
Antagonistic robot force.
Yeah, whereas like their story is no, we're trying to build an antenna to talk to God. Like that's amazing. That would be a fun creature design. And I did a workshop in Montreal where I was talking about that, and I gave the attendees, we did this workshop for a bit, and I gave them the first brief to design, which was like robot cannon fodder, just design that, and so we got that, and then I gave them the brief of like artificial intelligence, like sentient robots that are trying to build an antenna big enough to reach God and ascend into a higher plane of, and like got totally different designs out of that. Obviously,
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun.
See, like right off the bat, when I think of that, I sort of think of ants, to be honest, because
Yeah.
they're like a collective. They work as a collective to achieve a single goal. Like when you look at like photos or videos of like ants that form like bridges for the rest of their colony to get across, like that's what I think of.
Yeah.
That's just like from 30 seconds. I'm thinking about this.
Well, and that's the thing, you can use that, and that's a choice, and that comes from your, like, you had a thought.
Yeah.
And like everyone else is going to come to it with different things, but it's just, I really am a firm believer that the important thing is just to have a thought. Like,
strong choices are better than.
Yeah. And even if it's not universal and someone else is like, I don't get what he's doing, but you can at least tell that he's doing something. Like something's going on here that's like intentional and has a purpose.
Well, that's why all great literature is like great literature, right? You know, people, the authors like made a strong choice in what they were writing, and then people have been debating those novels for like
Exactly.
decades. They've
Yeah.
been talking about them. They've been interpreting them in different ways, and
Yeah.
the author doesn't have to be around for them to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you make strong, purposeful art, is by
Yeah.
making strong, purposeful choices.
Yeah.
Is it kind
Yeah.
of like from like in a Chen
Yeah.
Yi,
Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah,
Chen Yi
so-
Chang, yeah.
Chen Yi Chang, yeah. He talks about like yeah, as long as you just have to be intentional, it doesn't really matter if it gets like misinterpreted.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, the important thing is just to make a choice.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You'll never be able to control the interpretation.
Nope.
You,
Never.
You can't once you've released it to an audience, you can't control how it's interpreted.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer the art is no longer yours at that point. Once it's been consumed by someone else, it's theirs. Which is kind of a weird thing to think of it, or a weird way to think of it. But
Yeah.
that's just like the best way to think of it.
Well, and that was back in art school when we were learning about different ways of interpreting interpreting art. There was like, you're looking at everything from Marxism to feminism to blah, blah, blah. Like, there's just a ton of different ways you can try to interpret art. And
Yeah.
Marxism I always found funny because I don't... for a number of reasons I won't get into, but the one that always seemed to make the most sense to me, even though it annoyed me as an artist, was the formalist interpretation, where you're just looking at the artwork as it is. Like, you're bringing no other, you're not bringing context to it, you're not bringing history to it, you're just like, look at an image and what does it say? What does it say to you? It's like highly personal, but honestly, that's just how people do it. That's there's no way around. That is how most people are going to engage in your work.
Well, because most people have they've grown up a certain way. They have incorporated various ideologies and perspectives into their own life, and that's the lens which they view everything.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what you're talking about. That's how they look at the world.
Yeah.
And that's how they're going to interpret the piece that you've presented, or the book, movie, artwork, whatever. That it's just always going to be interpreted through a personal lens.
Yeah.
Unless you're an art historian, or you're completely detached from the emotional aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
which most people just aren't.
Yeah. A slight change of subject here, but something I wanted to run by everybody. I'm putting together a new talk because I'm going to be in Poland this September, and I want to have some of it still be related to the talk that I gave at ACAD, but I've had new thoughts, and partly in the vein of like when comedians go on the road to kind of try out new material before doing a special.
Right,
I was thinking maybe running some of the ideas that I had by you and see how they feel,
Yeah.
and then we can kind
For it.
of test it out. So I'm still trying to kind of tie all of these things together. I'm pretty sure that they're related. I'm still thinking about what the actual connective tissue is. I'm pretty sure that the connective tissue is artistic identity.
Right. Okay.
So I'm still an absolute. I'm almost at the point where I would call myself a storyist, like that. It's become so because story has become so ingrained in my value structure, like what I think of as important, that I would put story almost at some sort of like core place. And so I've been thinking about talking about trying to continue to emphasize the significance of stories. And so it's I would say self-evident, but it's fun to actually look into the actual evidence for that, of like how significant stories are for humans in terms of passing on knowledge and like things that have been learned, things that like hard lessons that the previous generations have learned that now the next generation can avoid. Anything worthwhile learning has basically been passed on in a story. And so the significance of storytelling in human development is actually tremendous. And so okay, take that as read. But the idea too, there's almost something about this is an idea that I've been reading about lately that has to do a lot with the idea of symbolism, in especially in like more ancient cultures, the idea of the significance of symbolism, because it kind of seemed to almost have more value once upon a time than we seem to remember. And one of the things that's been kind of neat is learning about the idea of well, I'll just do a little diagram just for the sake of trying it out. This is the diagram as it was presented to me. So if you take let's say take abstract meaning, which I'm going to, this is just sort of, I'll just say it like a little nebulous cloud, and sorry for this will be hard with the delay in what actually shows through in the stream, but trust me, these images are coming. A little nebulous cloud that is like meaning, and I'll write meaning there. And the idea of just marks, like markings on a page. So you just have a series of random marks, and when meaning and marks come together, what you can get is a word or language, or and so meaning is given significance by the marks, and the marks are given significance by the meaning, and so you create something incredible in the middle, and that's word.
Yeah.
So if you take that, there's almost this idea of let's say the old model of the idea of what the universe is, the idea of heaven and earth, where heaven isn't not in the sense of like, you know, a golden castle in the sky or even air or space or anything like that, but it's actually like it's actually meaning, and earth as matter. There's this kind of like old idea that basically means heaven and earth come together to form almost like a symbol or knowledge or something like that. And so there's this very old idea that essentially amounts to the universe as it is from a symbolic standpoint is a story. So it's almost like really old simulation theory in a way.
Yeah.
So that's something I have been thinking about, but it's the idea of like, as an artist, being able to, one of the things that we can do intentionally is, and that we do intentionally on a regular basis, is stitching together meaning and matter. Like I mean, and that's largely what we're doing all the time. This idea permeates absolutely all existence, basically all life. It's what we do when we're talking. It's what we do when we're walking around, when we're getting dressed, when we're doing stuff. There's this constant kind of process going on. But in a sense, this idea that we are taking part in this process, we can take part in it intentionally. So I'm still wrestling with how to actually articulate that in a way that is useful, because it's still something that I'm kind of just still thinking about.
Oh, I guess having a diagram would definitely help.
Yeah.
Like that one. Wait, so it's like it didn't entirely.
Well, I think I would even build it up, you know, add the steps, because like,
Yeah.
when you go back all the way to like cave drawings, for example, you know, people made marks on a wall with the intention of conveying this is what this like it's like a journal. They were essentially journaling their experience. And the significance of that at the time wasn't much, except that they had found a way to actually record their experience, which contextually is like huge for them when they were living day to day trying to survive. Being able to actually record that experience
Mm-hmm.
is hugely significant.
Yeah.
That's culturally revolutionizing.
Mm-hmm.
Progress that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We would speak like we would speak in like guttural tones.
Mm-hmm.
We add meaning, we create words. We have now created the tradition of oral storytelling. We are
Mm-hmm.
passing on our history orally, which is just another way of sharing our experience of recording our experience so that people are remembered, so that things are remembered, so that humanity is remembered. And that just keeps evolving. It was words on a page, and then it was pictures on a computer screen.
Mm-hmm.
And that process keeps evolving. And with the heaven and earth metaphor,
Mm-hmm.
diagram, you could even say that like humans themselves are matter given meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's because at the end of the day, we all are experiencing our own narrative, our own story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't want to feel like there are wasted moments in that story. So why would you waste any moments in a story that you're creating?
Yeah.
Right? You don't feel. Well, maybe you do. I definitely don't feel like there are days where it's like, well, this was a wasted day.
Right.
But
right.
I think the important moments in your life never feel wasted. And
Yeah,
it's because
yeah.
you always approach them with meaning.
Yeah,
And I think that's
yeah.
the follow through. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the through line right there.
Yeah.
It's,
No, it's a cool take on it. I appreciate that.
Oh, for the sky, are you so you've made like a gradient?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and you smooth it out.
Yeah. I didn't want to have just a perfect one-to-one gradient. I kind of like to put a few colors in there. And I know there are ways that you can make multicolored gradients in Photoshop, but it's not. It's never worth making preset ones to me because I always want to do it differently in every image. So it's just.
it's just a pain in the ass if you ask me.
And especially if you want them
It
shaped.
never looks that good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is kind of fun. In an evening, I've basically gotten to the point where I've drawn this. It's like it's like typically in an evening I'm getting like an entire pencil layer done or something like that. But it is fun to do this every now and then. I am actually pretty happy with where this is at already. Where's my? Oh, there it is.
So this is like if the other images of the actual story are kind of like real time rendering, but this is the.
Yeah.
This will be a speed painting one day.
Oh, Matt, are you gonna upload this stream to YouTube?
I think I will. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, the last one I forget why I didn't. I think I had some technical malfunction or something. Like it didn't actually like process the video properly.
Right.
I actually should. I still need to upload. I still need to update OBS. Well, the only time I open it up is when I come down to stream, and the last couple times now it's told me like there's an update.
Right.
So I'll need to actually.
Oh, yeah.
I'll need to actually do that, but I also come down like moments before I actually start the stream because I'm not responsible. All right, so I've got. Let's see. That's the underdrawing. There's the pose. Okay. I think I would feel bad if I didn't at least like finish out this this figure. It feels so this is completely unlike me to just leave like part of a figure rendered and the rest in just lines. Like I so wanted to just render that face just to try it. And so now it's like it's weirding me out. I can't do it.
Yeah.
What have I done?
It's like the Mr. Rogers. It's like the Who Framed Roger Rabbit shaving a haircut thing.
Yeah.
It's like dipped in acid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What was it? Oh, the
Uh,
old Mr. Show. I don't know if you ever watched Mr. Show with Bob Odenkirk and David Cross.
yeah.
But they had this sketch where this like greatest fan of this heavy metal band, they said like dip yourself in acid, and this guy actually did. And so they're visiting him in the hospital, and like they have David Cross in this hospital bed, and like the metal band comes to visit him, and they're like, "Oh man, you're here! I'm your biggest fan!" And they like pull back the blanket, and the little model that they made is amazing. It's like basically he has like it looks like he has these oversized hot dogs for arms and legs, and they're just like waving around like crazy, and it's perfection.
Yeah, Mr. Show. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, that was and that was a show too that we used to realize like needed a lot of work to get people into,
Yeah.
because it was like we had to prepare people. You're going to hate this, like we're going to show you this, and you are going to hate it until you watch enough of it, and then you're going to love it.
Did you
Because
ever watch that show? It was. Sorry, go ahead and finish.
oh, just because like only because the whole show was we are actors acting like bad actors, and so you find it really obnoxious at first until you pick up on what they're really doing, like what their tone really is, and then you love it.
Yeah, it's like an old school Tim and Eric.
Yeah, exactly. It was totally a precursor to that.
There was a show on Comedy Central. It had one season called Stella.
No.
There's like 10 episodes. It's like the cast. It stars David Wayne, Michael Ian Black, and Michael Showalter.
Okay.
And it's just the most absurd comedy I've ever seen, but I love it. I adore that show because it's just so balls to the wall, like bananas. Like you think, just like they deliberately make choices that like don't make sense, but still like follow. Like okay, for example, in the pilot of the show, the first episode, they get kicked out of their apartment by their landlord. At the end of the day, they sign up for that same apartment again as like themselves wearing mustaches. Like they're immediately discovered, but in like the landlord's anger, he has a heart attack. So like the show like tonally shifts into like a medical drama where they like have to do the surgery like in their apartment, but
Right.
it's these same three guys doing the surgery. It's just like it's so weird, and it was like way ahead of its time. It was like 10 years ahead of its time
Right,
in
right,
terms
right.
of like digestibility by an audience.
Interesting.
But, yeah, that's what I think of when I think like that's like in the Mr. Show vein of like
Yeah.
you're gonna hate it when you first start watching it.
Yeah. Well, that's
except you might still hate it.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
still.
Do you guys watch Red Letter Media at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay. Well, worth it if you do, because it's the best thing on YouTube. But they just recently did a review of Freddy Got Fingered, because they've been going back and watching like old. They've been watching movies that they usually they'll make fun of they'll do like their classic movie reviews, then they'll do best of the worst, and they've started a series that's just talking about movies that they actually really liked or that they just kind of feel like they have to talk about. And their talk about Freddy Got Fingered was interesting because like they're looking at these scenes where it's like you can't tell, you can tell this is similarly like so ahead of its time. People just had no idea, like no one was ready for this, where it's like this is completely tongue-in-cheek. The movie's making fun of itself and the viewers and the executives that greenlit it, and yeah,
How did this get made?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, Matt, do you have any ways of to prevent getting distracted?
To prevent getting distracted.
Yeah.
Just like while painting.
It's like if you do you have quarantine YouTubes or YouTube do you throw your phone away
Right.
That reach.
I will I'm really bad for getting distracted if I don't have something else kind of like as a medium distraction. Like
Right.
so right now the stream is a great thing where it's like, okay, you guys are just chatting, every now and then I can jump in, awesome. That totally works to help keep me focused. I find, and I don't know if this is a universal thing for artists or if this is just me. So maybe you guys can tell me if this is something you experience. I find that with art, it engages one part of my brain, but there's this whole other half that's just like, okay, like can we go do something now? Like I'm bored. What are we gonna do?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
and so
I'm always. Yeah.
yeah, so I find like I have to have either a conversation going or something going on that is like dialogue intensive, because like music isn't even enough to distract me. Like I need a movie going on, or like watching constant movie reviews or whatever it is, something going on in the background that other part of my brain can happily consume. So I've gotten a lot of like audiobooks read through. I just finished listening through Dune for like the 10th time. Audiobooks, documentaries, movies, TV shows, stupid, ridiculous YouTube videos, whatever it is. As long as I can listen to it, I'm good. So I find
Right.
that has helped to keep me sort of solid and focused.
Right, because like there was one time I went to like a university open day, and in like the concept art area, there was a student who had like on one monitor he was like watching like a YouTube video on like about World War One history, and on the other he was working on his art, and I was like, shh, like just scolding him in my mind, just going, "Oh, you succumbed to the temptation," but it's probably working. It probably allowed him to work
Yeah.
more, like, and,
Yeah, totally. And
I think-
I find
Yeah.
when it comes to the ideation part, like when I can't listen, I can't do anything but listen to music when I'm drawing the thumbnails for my images, because I can't be distracted. Like I can't listen to anything. I can't be in a conversation. If it's like really trying to come up with the idea, I need focus. But execution, like that's where the boredom sets in.
Yeah. Well, execution is just like muscle memory, right? It's
Exactly. Yeah.
It's when you're in the ideation phase, or like the underdrawing phase, like the foundational phases, that you're like actually thinking about what you're drawing,
Mm-hmm.
how you're laying it out. Once you've got that part down, once you're just doing like the actual, yeah, like you said, just the actual like finishing portion of it,
Mm-hmm.
that's just like now I'm just doing what I'm already trained to do, what I have experience doing. Like I need something else to be going on, and I don't think distractions are bad, honestly. When you're doing art, I think the only bad distractions when you're doing art are ones that keep you from doing the art. And that's like, I think for me anyway, once I've started actually doing something artistic, like if I'm started like once I've actually started like drawing or writing, that's what I'm doing. Like it's no
Yeah.
longer possible for me to get distracted away from doing that, because
Like-
I do genuinely just enjoy doing it once I'm doing it. It's the hardest part for me is like doing it, starting to
Same
do
for
it.
me, yeah. Like it's like brushing your teeth. It's like you can't be bothered, but once you're doing it, yeah, it's very painless.
I think yeah, once you get over the activation energy thing, and once you get over that hump, like just do
Yes,
it
K-Bart.
keeps you sane, basically.
Yeah. Yes, KK Bard, it is. I'm going to put this up on YouTube. And Marvin Marbles says they have the same. Oh, and sorry, your name is, that's hard. Mara Parkert. Okay, yeah. Lots of people agreeing.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do back in school when I would be doing a project, thing would be get together with people and draw with them. Like especially people in my class, like let's just do the project together because we like each other and we have to do this thing. Let's just talk while we're doing it, and then we can also like critique each other while we're working on it and save
Yeah.
ourselves a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Did you find that useful being able to talk? Did you talk to them whilst you were working independently, or were you working in the
Like
same
we'd be sitting in the same room, like just working on our own stuff, and we would just be like sitting across like tables from each other, working and just talking
Right.
about like random stuff, and then occasionally we'd be like, "Hey, can you look at this? Tell me if you like it. If it's like if there's anything wrong with it." And then you could be like, "Oh, this looks a little bit weird." And then like, "Okay, cool, thanks. I can go back and keep working on this."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty social person as
Did
it
you
is. I like interacting with people, so like that was one of the hardest things about
right.
doing art a lot, is that a lot of it can be pretty solitary. So any opportunity that I could find to like be with people while doing it was awesome.
Yeah, sounds good. But did you find it difficult to extract truthful critique from people if it's like if it's like face like if they can critique you to your face like or
I think once you like, especially I think it's a lot easier when you know people like that you're drawing with well,
right.
or at least well enough. Like
See,
you either like I would never draw with people that like that didn't think that I could take credit. But also that's the thing. Like when you are, especially in art school, or like when you're doing it, like you just get so used to critiquing and being critiqued that like it just rolls off you. And if it doesn't, then that's a problem that you're gonna have well into your career. Like if you don't develop thick skin and just realize the people are coming from a place of like trying to correct mistakes that you're making, or they perceive you to be making, then you're never gonna like succeed. That's
right.
a problem you have to get over. But I think,
I thought,
yeah, I never had an issue where I would be working with people. I never felt bad about critiquing other people's work truthfully, and I don't think anyone that I was working with felt bad about critiquing other people's work truthfully, because at the end of the day, we're just trying to make each other better.
right. I initially misheard. Well, I misheard you. I thought originally I thought you said like when you were in art school you realize that people are coming for you. Yeah, I think that that'll be really. Because I'm going to university soon, so I'll be in that position, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think if you have like if you get to know some people really well, and you like you mesh with them really well, and then you'll be able to have like drawing sessions with them, and you'll be comfortable giving them like honest critiques, because you'll know each other well enough that they'll know that you're not coming from like a negative place, that you're not trying to be like antagonistic.
Right.
And that's what it's all about, is we're all just trying to help each other get better.
Yeah, I guess that but I guess it's very important that you should like at least have know them somewhat. Like, I guess if you go to a complete stranger in the room and you're like, I think that you could work on this and that, they might take it the wrong way.
Hey, you, here's a critique.
Yeah, I think there is a time and a place for critique. Like, there needs to be a context, but you can't just walk up to somebody like, that's not good. They'd be like, I didn't ask you. But I do think that like, if you plan on becoming a professional artist, if you have any intention of becoming professional in any sense, like in any medium, that you need to get good at taking criticism, because you're gonna get it from like everyone.
Yeah.
People that you work for, your editors, like your art directors, you're gonna get it from people that you don't know. You're gonna get it from like people who are giving you feedback on a project that you post online. People are always gonna be giving you criticism. And if you don't know how to take it well, or you don't know how to take it at all, you're just gonna
have a bad
fail.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have a bad time. You're gonna give up, or you're gonna just be complete. You're never gonna improve.
Well,
Because that's what happened. That was what the worst. Were the people in critiques who would get really defensive about their artwork.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not helping yourself by being like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Just take it.
Yeah, and look, that's the other thing. Like, critiques aren't like, you can take and leave whatever you want from a critique. There is no, once you get to the critiques, at least in where I went to school, like, critique stage was like, we're done with the project. The project is over. This is just like, these are notes that you can use next time to get better, or not. And because a lot of it is like very preferential, like people have their personal preferences on how they draw things certain ways, or how they like things to be. And
right.
Yeah, you realize that too. Like, I don't have to take every single thing that's said during this critique session to heart. I can like say, okay, thank you for your critique, and just forget about that.
Gotta analyze it and see if it's actually applicable.
Well, because it's all that learning, like you're calibrating there too. You're realizing, oh, okay, I see that what I thought was this was interpreted in a totally different way by somebody, and it, you're learning about how your work kind of reaches people.
Yeah.
So you can either choose to hone it next time, or you can say like, actually, maybe it's kind of good that person hated this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my advice to you when you're going through critiques, just say, "Cool, thanks." Whenever someone gives you a note,
Mm-hmm.
if it's positive or negative, just say, "Cool, thank you,"
Yeah.
and move on to the next one. You're gonna save yourself
Absolutely.
a lot of trouble.
Yep.
You're gonna make people feel like you're listening to them, and then
Mhm.
when you get home, you can be like, "This person doesn't know anything. I'm not gonna listen to that person."
Yeah, like those one time at school where like one person was like they like, oh, I really like your sketchbook. It's so loose and messy. It's great. And I was like, no, I don't want it to be loose and messy. And I was like, yeah, oh, thanks, dude. I'll,
Yeah,
yeah.
because they don't know how you like it or how you expect it. They're just saying it because it's there and they can see it, and that's what their first impression is. You know, you don't have to. You know, it's just like they just said it. They're not thinking. You just say thank you,
Yeah.
and you go draw a stick figure of them and burn it in effigy.
Yeah. Well, and we talk at work because like critique is a regular thing
Yeah.
in the office. Is that like in talking about the culture of critique, a lot of what everyone has to realize very early on, and every now and then actually be reminded of, is that you're critiquing the work, not the person, and like
Exactly.
you're just trying to get the best ideas to win, and so it's like throw your ideas in the arena, make them fight. And whatever ideas come out at the end, like, awesome, we can all be thrilled because we just, like, now we're going to be working on the best ideas. Great.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. It can be difficult to view it that way when you're in school because
Oh, sure.
you're not all working on the same thing. You're all working on like your own individual projects, and like your grade is attached to it. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like all the information you get in a critique, especially in school, is going to be valuable because this is going to be the most intensive period, or one of the most intensive art periods in your life before you get into your before you become a professional. This is where like a lot of your habits are going to be formed. This is where a lot of like you're going to learn about all the bad habits you've already formed leading up to it, that's just like the reality. Like I had terrible habits going into art school. I learned how to correct them. Like we know until you have formal art education, or at least you have a better idea of what art education is, you have in your way of trying to do it right, you've made some bad habits. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
So always internalize what you hear, but don't feel like you have to use it all, because the truth is you won't be able to, and you'll very quickly recognize like what is actually good advice and what's just like someone being nitpicky over personal preference.
Right, like arbitrarily just going like, I personally think that should be yellow.
I hate butterflies. Sorry, man. A butterfly killed my dad. Oh, man. I'm sorry about that, but that's what this project needs. Well, and being able to, part of critique is, again, in that storytelling sense, like the most useless critiques are just put up an image and what do people think? And they just say,
Yeah.
I like it, I don't like it, I don't like the color green, I hate butterflies, whatever it is. That's useless. But the critique where you can say, this is what I was trying to say, this is what I was trying to do, did I do it? Then you can get a real meaningful critique. Then you can say, oh, okay, well, if you're trying to communicate dread, maybe there's a better shape language, or maybe your color choice is off, or, that's not how I interpreted it. Maybe I can help you get closer. So that's my
definitely.
first view.
I was just thinking of like, there's like in those like revenge stories, like there's like the person who like wants to get revenge on the guy who like killed someone that they love or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're looking at the picture like in the cafeteria, just brooding over it, just smoking a cigarette, and then like I just got the image of like this guy like pulling out a picture of like cut off like a bug encyclopedia. I'll get you someday.
That kind of critique is really the most useful, but you're not going to get a lot of that in like your basic drawing courses, like your foundational courses where you're just like doing still lifes over and over again. But that's where you rely on like the technical critiques where like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, you could have pushed your contrast a lot more in this piece. Like you could have pushed your values. Like your darks could have been darker, your lights could have been lighter. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like that's and then when you start getting into courses that are like more focused on like visual storytelling, more focused on like shape language, on color palette choices, color theory, stuff like that. That's when you can start getting into like, are my choices conveying my intentions?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
is that being lost?
Oh, so a still life's quite a good way of like getting a high level understanding of like your current artistic level.
100%, yes.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
still lifes, there's a reason that they are the first thing you learn how to do, because when you're typically they're very simple like objects that you're drawing, but being able to capture those basic foundational skills like value, lighting, reflective light, proportion, like making sure that everything is proportional to each other. But a lot of that is going to be how you draw everything else. That's it all, because art is everything you draw is just the same like three basic shapes in different ways.
Yeah.
And like still lifes are gonna bore the shit out of you. They are just the most painful, boring things to draw.
That's how you know you're doing it right.
They are, yeah, exactly. But it's one of the most important things you're gonna do, because that's where you're gonna really start honing those skills. Where you're really gonna start seeing how those things affect real world objects and how that's going to translate into your artwork. Like there's no better way to see how light affects the surface than by drawing a fucking apple
and
on a white tablecloth.
The handy thing is too that they're so much more like dispassionate than a portrait or something like that. It's they're very much like, you know, there's nothing very particularly special about this tea kettle that I'm drawing, so I'm really focused on form and volume and reflection and blah, like all the little technical details.
Yeah, yeah. You can get pretty romantic in your portrait drawing class. You can like take some liberties.
Yeah.
And how like you capture an expression, and it's not always going to be as true to life as you maybe hope it's going to be. Whereas like for the still life, it's like this. I'm drawing a picture. I'm drawing a photograph, basically.
That was actually the one reason why I realized I should never be a caricature artist, is I hated looking at people's expressions when they were faced with what they looked like. It was just like I couldn't. It was either like be true and do a true caricature, or idealize them so they look at it and like, oh, I look great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like a still life of like a mannequin with a drapery thing on it is not going to complain that you know, added an extra 10 pounds or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah. I took a portrait drawing class, and that was.
Oh yeah.
I actually took 2 portrait drawing classes, and those were actually probably 2 of the most enjoyable classes that I had, because it is basically like a still life, except you're trying to capture someone's likeness as true to life as possible, and that's like, I don't know, something about drawing faces is just way more interesting than drawing a wicker basket.
Oh yeah.
But
well, for people are our favorite things.
Yes, that is true. Going back to cover art for a second, the single best thing to draw on a cover to get people to pick it up is a face.
Yep.
It's a head or a face, as big as you can make it, because that's like, it's recognition.
Yep.
It's like your
It's
brain knows what that
hardwired.
is.
Yep.
That's why you see faces in like random shit all the time.
Yeah, what's that term? Pareidolia? I can never remember the actual pronunciation of it. It's like anemone. Pareidolia? Although I realized...
Pareidolia.
Yeah. You know what? I have a theory, just to speak... This is just random, but related to that. I think I've lost mine.
Yeah.
Because I used to see my, like, you know, faces in all sorts of stuff or shapes or whatever. But when I really got serious about art and started doing tons of, like, all the studies, it started to disappear. And my theory
Probably for
is,
the best.
I might be crazy, I might be totally off, and this is just not a thing. But I feel like maybe when you're studying how to draw, you're training your brain to stop looking at the symbol of the thing and look at the thing.
Yeah.
You know, you're not trying to.
I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, you're not trying to draw like a hand is not 5 sausages and a circle. It's like you're looking at the lines of each finger. And I wonder if the
Where
more
are the
you
creases? Where are the...
yeah. So I almost wonder if you train your brain to look more at that stuff, if it stops symbolizing so much.
Right. Well, like you ask a kid to draw a cloud, they're gonna draw like a curly Q.
Exactly. Yeah. They're drawing the symbol
Wow.
of a cloud. Yeah.
Yeah.
A classic example is like an eye, a tree, a cloud.
Yeah.
Wait, so I guess like still lifes and studies kind of like help to offset that.
I think so. Well, yeah. It's just like well, still lives are great for training your hand. Like part of it is just being able to move the brush around and get confident just putting color and shape and value where you believe it needs to go, because it's like Samantha Youssef put in Montreal, it's all just like grammar. You're trying to be a storyteller, but there's all this artistic grammar that you just need to be able to learn, and part of that is just good brushwork, good draftsmanship, being able to observe something and translate it to a line or whatever other form you're going to need. Like it's just kind of the mechanics, and still lives are just one of the easiest and quickest ways to level that up.
Yeah. I think one of the hardest things to unlearn when you first go to school, especially, is you unlearn what you think something is supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the first thing that gets hammered into your head when you're drawing. It's like, draw what's there, draw what's on the table. Stop drawing what you think that's supposed to look like. Draw this particular apple the way it is. Don't draw what you think an apple's supposed to look like. Don't draw what's like. Don't fill in the details. The details are right in front of you. Just draw what you see. Like it's the same thing with figure drawing. Like when you're drawing figures, people like, this is what an arm is supposed to look like. No, just draw what the arm is on the person standing 5 feet away from you.
Yeah.
You're gonna save yourself a lot of trouble.
When you guys ever done like foliage or well, I'm sure you have like foliage and drapery studies.
Yeah,
I've done drapery studies. I haven't done much foliage.
My in the wintertime in Edmonton, it gets brutally cold, and so we got passes to go to this indoor garden place that has like a tropical jungle and desert area and stuff like that. So me and my kids, we would just take our sketchbooks and we would go there and we just walk around and draw plants, and yeah, it's it's especially cool to see little kids drawing plants.
Is that where all those Tellurion plants come from?
A lot, yeah, for real. A lot of they're just like the jungle section of the Mutart Conservatory in Edmonton. It's yeah, there's like the banana tree and all these other things. I love the there's so much fun to draw, and it's so cool to see because it's like it makes you realize that there's no such thing as every shape is possible for a plant.
Yeah.
But, so like with like stuff like hedges and like trees, where like there's so much, and also drapery, there's so much like congested detail. How do you tackle that by like, or do you guys like just try and get every single line and every single detail exact? Or do you kind of like?
Okay.
No. God.
Yeah. No. Here's my favorite way of thinking about it is that there is a design hierarchy, and so at the top of the list here, you know what? I will actually take a moment and I will write this down. So again, forgive the delay, but here's the design hierarchy, and it starts with I'm gonna guaranteed put the I and the E in the wrong order and make myself hierarchy. Okay. Ignore my spelling, but. Let's see.
H-I-E-R.
H-I-E-R? Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hierarchy.
Ignore that I wrote it that way. But at the very top is shape.
Right.
And this I'm taking from Chen Yi Chang. So at the very top is shape. So if you're looking at like a hedge, first thing you're looking at, what is the shape? And so I will just draw a little, like, let's say whatever, it's like a super tall hedge, or it's a spherical hedge. Under that is value.
Right.
So this is literally, actually, I'm not even going to put dashes. I'm going to do number 1 because it's the most important. Number 2, value. And that would be, okay, it's lighter at the top and darker at the bottom, or maybe it has maybe it's all dark, but there's these very bright sections on it. Whatever the values are, that's what you do. Then would be probably color, and then 4, texture. So this might be modified a little bit, but I would say that that's like the order in which you should be thinking about this stuff. And so yeah, like in the case of the hedge, it's like first value, then you could think about color, and then texture down below, where it's and again it's thinking about the resolution that you want. If this is something far off in the background and you can be pretty simple about it, great. But even if you then have this as a starting point, you could go in and then add all the detail you want. But you'd be adding that detail in context, because if I were to take this crappy little hedge and zoom into the pixel level here, I know that, okay, I don't want to disrupt this this value structure, and I know I kind of want to keep it roughly in line with everything. So I can kind of make some choices. If I go to a brighter area, I don't want to like wreck that, because I know that it's actually working with the whole. So then when I zoom out, I'm adding texture, but I'm not taking away from the overall read.
Right. And you gotta like constrain the values within like a certain colors that like don't leap out once you're zoomed out, because like it's really easy to like do like a tiny change when you're zoomed in, like
yeah.
But then when you zoom out, it's really apparent.
Yeah.
I also think, again, going back to like hair, for example, your eyes are going to simplify those details. So just save yourself the trouble. I think,
Right.
like, when you draw a tree, for example, like if you want to see the guy who like does trees, he just does trees. Just go watch Bob Ross. Like, it sounds cheesy, but like, and he does the same thing like every single episode. But like, he nailed how to achieve like good looking trees very easily. You start with the line that is supposed to be the trunk. You start with a base, which is like the shadowed part of the tree.
Right.
That
Like a textured look to achieve the leaves, because that's the highlight of the leaves, because that's all it is. It's just like you're looking at the breakdown of the layers of the tree, starting with the shape, which is the trunk, and then the foliage at the top. Then the value, you start with the dark layer in the background, and the light goes on top of it. Color, obviously you want more saturated in the highlights and less saturated shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And then texture, which is just like trying to achieve like a stippled look on the leaves, I guess.
Yeah. So
So
sorry, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, I just put up an image. This is by Robert Genn. You can see his signature down in the bottom for spelling. It's Genn. He's my favorite. He's my favorite Rocky Mountain painter. Passed away not too long ago, but he is one of my favorite painters, largely because the way he does, trees, for example, is that you're looking at, this is like he reduces them into graphic design. He's almost like the Rocky Mountain painter equivalent of Mike Mignola.
Yeah.
Right.
So what you're looking at here is shape and value and color, and he just barely even gets to the textural. Like, that is the least of his concerns.
Yeah.
But out of that, he's able to evoke color and mood. Like, you can smell the air in these paintings. He creates this very dramatic mood. This is, I totally know what you mean about Bob Ross, but I think also in that sense of like Bob Ross paints with technique. Like he's almost like the Photoshop brushes version of a painter.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Whereas like something like Robert Genn's work is very much like, these are the trees with their character. They are true. Like Bob Ross is, I love what, it's great. Bob Ross is fun to watch, but he also is like, I am creating paintings. And like he's making them up as he goes along, and it's like, it's fun, and it's, it is the joy of painting. But in a case like this, it's like, I believe that these trees exist, that these were real, and this says something true about it. And so if going through that design hierarchy, you can say, here's the shape, and here's the value, and here's the color.
Right.
Then
Yeah.
then yeah. So you could take these and add all of the detail you could possibly want. You could blow these up to being 20 feet by 10 feet and paint all the little needles on it, but it would actually have more life and more character because this level is considered.
Yeah.
Like is it like immutable?
There you go. Yeah.
It's not once every stream.
Good word. Exactly. I know we can't go without it. I need that Pee Wee Herman word of the day.
But yeah, I think I like there's a time and place for like detail in paintings.
Yeah,
There's a time and place
yeah.
for like meticulous like chainmail is a great example. It's like
yeah.
take the time, draw the individual links for the most part, or like at least like spend some time on it because that's like it's something that you do actually take time to notice. But like a lot of stuff, save yourself the trouble because your brain doesn't do all the work.
Yep.
Even your brain doesn't do all the work to distinguish every individual leaf on a bush or a tree.
Embrace.
Why would you make your hand do it?
Exactly. Embrace the gestalt.
Yeah.
I guess it's like it's applying the same philosophy of hair to the trees.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
Chunks.
Yeah, if you're studying hair, you're not going to draw every individual strand. So I guess you probably shouldn't do it with leaves as well.
Oh, Memitzklinev. Sorry for your name there. Sorry for joining late. Awesome to see you render it in a different way. Oh, thanks. Is it for the cover? No, it's just I just felt like doing something different for the stream tonight. Just a little change of pace. I was saying earlier that I'm not sure if I'm ready to show the image that I'm working on next.
Maybe you should, if it's an especially dramatic moment, maybe you should render it out to this quality.
Yeah, I would. That would be like a whole other kind of
splash page
guilt. Yeah, just like this one off in the middle.
If you ever make a Tellurion MOBA.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, new character appears.
Yeah. So animating it in After Effects.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, we were just looking today at here's every now and then I get to tell like tiny little insider stories that don't reveal too much. This is not revealing anything at all. But we were just actually watching this old video that we made years ago for Dragon Age 2. It was an internal development thing. We were trying to figure out the vision that we wanted to head in and the direction we wanted to go. And so we actually ended up making this 2D trailer that was animated in After Effects that we ended up showing at the company meeting, saying like, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. And it was hilarious. It was so over the top and fun. It was like this like hypothetical party getting into combat, and it was like, oh man, it's the kind of thing that I hope someday we can release. I would really love to put out there.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds really good.
And the surprising thing is, it's actually not that far off what we did. You can actually see sort of you can see the genetics of Dragon Age 2 in this thing. It's definitely all there, but
is it all like voice work from the team?
No, we ended up doing just like just text speech over there. Just 'cause there's always this like funny thing about voice acting where because of unions and stuff like that, they don't like the idea of even just people on the team doing scratch audio. Like they always want to they always want to hire a local actor or something like that to get them in, which like that's not my fight. I don't know. Sure.
Well, there was that game Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice where they were like, well, we need to model this character, and they're like, they actually like got one of their employees. They're like, you kind of look like you'd be right. Let's just use your face to model this character. And they're like, well, we need a voice actor. Well, let's just have you stand in for it right now. And I started doing it. They're like, we're just gonna use you. You're the voice actor.
There you go. Oh, that's awesome. That's hilarious. We had actually.
I never played that game. But I heard it was fun.
Some of the guys that I worked with back in the day that were around since the KOTOR days, they'll tell stories of they would use their faces for models, like some of the model builders. So they need a whole bunch of, they need some Sith. So it's like, sweet, well, I want to be a Sith. That's awesome. So they, take a picture of themselves. But then they came across the LucasArts contracts, which if you read, and if you, at the time, if they read enough, basically said like, we own your image, like your likeness is the property of Lucasfilm forever. And it spooked a few of them. Some of them were like, nope, not gonna do it. I can't do it.
Your face is just filed in like a
in the salt mine vault forever. Crow's Tune says this style feels way different from your usual feel, kind of like a Tom piece. Is he ever gonna get back to R&D fantasy? I don't know, but thank you. Being compared to Tom, I don't mind. This is just like a rendering approach that I've been doing lately at work on a few things that I wish I could tell you about. But I also just wanted to, I've been wanting to do a more rendered kind of like splash piece for Tellurion that's kind of off the story, still with the characters, but not a particular story beat.
But yeah, I think if you're gonna like make a model from your likeness, there'd probably be some creative. Well, it's not like at least with like the technical limitations at the time, you probably wouldn't have like a true likeness.
Yeah, it's still definitely like
they're doing like the face wrap texture.
Yeah. Oh, but like I think that's very cool. So like some of the NPCs, like you could be looking at a Bioware employee.
Yep.
Yeah. I wouldn't be that worried about it if it was back then.
No, it was a different age. It was a different age.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can use my likeness, quote unquote.
Yeah, it's back in like with KOTOR that it was still kind of in that like shoebox head era.
Yeah.
Where like mouths didn't animate and
Yeah. Your face just kind of like moved around slightly while you made your eyebrows raised a little bit while the dialogue was playing.
I think that the faces were quite well animated, at least at the time. But I think that every face has only one animation. Like I don't remember there being any expression.
I would be amazed. I would be amazed if the faces had animations. Maybe they did, and but I feel like our brains when we think back to those video games, we are putting a lot on top of them.
Yeah.
That was.
I just played KOTOR 1 and 2.
Did it have face animations? Was there any movement in the face? Did it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there was.
In the mouths.
It was like it was subtle, but it was there. It wasn't like wasn't like Oblivion or like Skyrim where you just stand there like staring at each other blankly.
Yeah.
Like your characters actually moved when they talked. There were like mouth animations for the speaking.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like lip synced per se, but it existed.
Yeah, and there's like,
speaking of Skyrim, Nordronic says, "How's it going? It's good." Also, Crow's Tunes, forgive you not being able to tell us about the stuff you're working on. As long as we get another art book for when said thing is fine. Yeah, I always love. It's one of my favorite. I love it when art books come out. It's so much fun. I love for people to be able to see some of the process.
Yeah, I still have that original Mass Effect art book kicking
around
somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah, try to drag us back to KOTOR again.
Drag it back.
I think that if you did get your likeness into that game as like an NPC, it would be quite a big deal because they get quite reused throughout the game quite a bit. So like you could be at the end of the game and there's like a Sith go like, I'm going to destroy you or whatever. And you could be like, but I saw you were in the canteen.
Yeah, that's definitely it. Okay, if I post my artwork in my Discord, I would love to have people see it. Yeah, we have a whole critique section specifically for that if you want to put something in there, Nordronic. Yeah, I think that was part of it too. You were seeing the same guys, over and over and over again.
Yeah, it was like the same 4 base character models.
Mm-hmm. I'd be curious. I should look up those models to see if they actually work, because I would probably recognize them.
Oh yeah. That'd be cool. Really like that.
I was just oh shit, what was I gonna say? Oh, I remember like when the original like trailers for Mass Effect were coming out,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, I was floored by how good they looked at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then like a year ago, I went back and played through the Mass Effect series again. Mass Effect was like,
Aw, that darling. It's so cute.
oh boy.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it still looks all right, but it's like,
Sure.
yeah, it's just crazy how far we've come since
It
then
really
in such a
is.
short period of time.
It's kind of mind-blowing. Well, actually, this guy, Captain Randall on Instagram, he will occasionally look through art books. And he actually did a look through of the Mass Effect, the full collection.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he commented on that was kind of interesting was that the environment concept art specifically is like this almost like sedimentary layers of what environment concept art over the last 10 years has been, because the difference is dramatic. It's like back in the early days, they were just off of KOTOR. Most of it was done by Derek Watts, the art director, and eventually by the end, it's like this high production value, like super polished, photo bashed, kind of map paintings thing. Like it is crazy to see that it was at Mass 1 was an old game.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of crazy to think that was the first game I ever worked on start to finish.
What year was that? That was 2008,
Oh man,
I think.
I
2009.
think so. 2000, yeah, probably 2008 or 7 or no. How long was I on that?
2007.
Yeah,
Holy
yeah.
shit.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
11 years ago. Good God.
I was hanging out with some cousins, and one of the kids, he's like, I think at the time he was probably like 9 or 10. He's like, "Oh, Mass Effect, you worked on that? Yeah, I used to play that with my dad when I was a little kid." It's like, oh man, oh no.
I mean, shit, I was a
Year is it?
a freshman in high school when that game came out.
Yeah.
Oof.
Let's see. Okay, if I post my artwork in my Discord, artwork I commissioned, I should clarify. 2007 for everyone, yeah. I think so. I don't know.
There aren't any, as far as you're aware, there aren't any like copyright laws going on inside your Discord, are there?
I would hope not. If so, I officially disavow. As long as it's okay for the commissioner. Commissioner sounds official.
Commissioner Gordon?
Oh, that's exactly right. Actually, I was just watching Lego Batman again. Man alive. The second best Batman movie of all time. And
What's the first best one?
I'd say Dark Knight.
Okay, yeah.
It's the top three are The Dark Knight, Lego Batman, and Mask of the Phantasm.
That's a good list. I actually haven't seen all of Lego Batman, so I
Okay.
can't say for sure.
Well,
but I heard it's great.
I think the opening of the movie, like the entire opening sequence, is phenomenal. The pace of it is just so much fun, and it's like, you want Batman? We will give you more Batman than you've ever had in your whole life. Like, it's just, you're blasted with it. It's awesome.
I would say, given like the movies that I've seen, I would say that it's Dark Knight, Return of the Joker, and then Mask of the Phantasm. Although I guess Return of the Joker is Batman Beyond, so like doesn't really count.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, that's one I haven't seen. I'm familiar with it, but I haven't actually seen through it, so I can't say. I can't add it to my
Beyond
list yet.
was awesome.
But I did love that.
That is so great.
Yeah,
You did or didn't?
I did. Yeah, I used to love that
Okay,
show.
yeah.
I watched it religiously. Nordronic's getting it started, asking if we saw the recent Star Wars. Don't
Yes.
You're gonna drag us back into it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yes, we have eject.
Watch this when it gets on YouTube. You'll see what we thought.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, this will go up again. You can kind of go back through it, and then we'll see. I want Jodorowsky's Star Wars. I think that's what I want.
I want Denis Villeneuve.
Yes, for Star Wars.
Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
I just want him to direct a version of every single sci-fi film of my
Mhm.
youth.
Yeah, go back and do like I want to see his version of Star Trek. Or Total Recall.
Yeah. God,
Or-
Blade Runner 2049 was just so good.
It was.
Ugh.
It was. To me, it goes on the list of perfect movies. Like I get it. There's stuff that you can complain about, but the visuals in that movie were just everything.
It simultaneously paid homage to and improved upon
Yep.
its predecessor.
Yeah,
Like,
and
it's
I'm
crazy.
Yeah, and I don't think that is like a sacrilegious statement to make at all. Like I think it actually improved on it. Because I made sure too to watch the original Blade Runner again just before watching the new one. And it's like taking the spirit and just saying like, yeah, okay, look, we're gonna. I think. I mean, even though I know he is still alive, he's still around. But I think the old movie would just look at it and say like, I'm proud of you, my son. Like,
Yeah.
my legacy is assured. Yeah, even like stuff, even seeing like there was, I was thinking about the love scene between Joy and the prostitute, and Kay.
That scene
And
was
it's like-
so good.
It was, and what it was like to me. It was like I'm finally watching science fiction again. Because so many movies, it's like you're watching a movie and it's special effects. Okay, fine. But Blade Runner actually gave me that feeling again, where it's like right in your chest, where you're like, I'm actually like, this is science fiction. This is like,
That-
wow.
that was that was the scene. That was one of the scenes that I've in history or recent memory that like I thought this is a genre defining scene right now. This
Mhm.
is like what I'm watching right now is gonna be like this scene is gonna be talked about in like film courses in a decade.
Yeah.
Like you think about like the opening shot of A New Hope where you have the ships flying.
Right.
Like that's genre defining. You
Yeah.
have the scene in now you have this. It's just like
Yeah.
they've finally taken the technology they have available and they made it like work for the genre
Yeah.
instead of it being just like look at these sleekly designed hover ships and
Yeah.
blaster guns. It's like okay,
Exactly.
well, where's like the real sci-fi shit
Yeah.
that you know we're all gonna do once we have the opportunity.
Yeah. I can't wait for Dune. I know I said that last time, but
Yeah.
can't wait for Dune.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I think. I hope. I have faith.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other shots that like really stuck out to me in recent films that I've seen. That's the problem. You don't see a lot of like innovation in movies anymore.
Well, even thinking like some of those something I've learned as I've been looking into cinematography more intentionally, just because of all the storyboard work and stuff that we've been doing.
Yeah.
Has been in doing some research on okay, what are cinematographers doing that's interesting. There are those guys that have a really strong voice, and for people who are beginners, they've been saying they're really great to look at because they have such a strong voice that you can actually see what's going on. And so shoot, now what's his name? Like the cinematographer who did Blade Runner and like Skyfall.
He did. Yeah. Oh shit.
Now I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Somebody in the chat will know.
I'm just gonna Roger Deakins.
Roger Deakins, that's right. I knew it was D. And so like Roger Deakins has a really distinct look. Like he works so much with silhouette, and his compositions are usually so austere and clear that you can hold on an image for a really long time, and beautiful. You know, you're completely pulled into it.
Oh yeah, like the first thing I thought when you said silhouette, I thought of that scene in Skyfall when Bond is fighting that assassin in that Hong Kong like high rise in front of that like lit neon blue.
Yeah.
That's such a great shot.
Totally. Well, and then you look at that same sequence basically later where he's fighting the villain by the burning house.
Yeah.
And so you're getting it like that same motif, but it's like done with a totally different flavor.
Complementary color.
Yep.
Blue and orange. That's why they use that shit for everything.
Yep. Not going anywhere.
I love it. I'll never get sick of it.
Oh, my abuse of those colors is borderline criminal.
It's the most appealing looking complementary colors too. Like, you can't look at red and green and think anything but Christmas, and purple and or yellow
purple and yellow.
Yellow kind of suck.
It's like the Lakers so thoroughly own that. Is that the right sports team? I was just actually having a conversation about Michael Bay, and just that old Michael Bay, especially around the era of like The Island. I have a real soft spot for that era where it was like Bad Boys and The Island, where it was like sunsets out like every scene was shot at sunset. Everything was color corrected to like orange and teal, and it was like, you know what, I'm fine with this. I'm absolutely fine with this.
So someone got an intro to cinematography book, or an intro to color theory.
There's probably an equivalent in music. Like musicians probably can talk about that, where it's like, oh, that guy always uses these chords. I think
the equivalent in music is the 4-chord song structure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Right.
Well, there's that famous hypercut of like every single 4-chord song. It's like that medley of 4-chord songs, and they're all like the same song.
Right.
And it's like, I think that's the equivalent. And
okay.
Yeah, it's like exhausting, but
we love it.
There's a reason it works.
Yeah. I knew it. I knew there was one. I am fascinated. I'm totally not a musical person. Like, I have no exposure to that entire kingdom of the artistic spectrum. But I always am fascinated when I find out that there's these absolute incredible parallels.
Oh yeah, I played piano for. I played it actively for 15 years, and then I haven't played in the past few years because I haven't had access to piano.
Mm-hmm.
But I have. Yeah, I've got that. That's something I love to do, but I just haven't been able to do it, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like every art medium has its rules, like quote unquote rules.
Yep.
They're like, you don't have to follow them,
but
there are reasons to want to follow them.
Yeah. Like if you're gonna do cinematography and ignore the rule of thirds, like go for it, rock on.
Yeah.
But like if you want, that's an awesome place to start.
Yeah. Rule of thirds is a rule for a reason.
And then as you get comfortable, knock yourself out.
Oh god, there was this. There was a movie, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Oh yeah.
And it was kind of a lame movie, but I actually really liked it because of the cinematography, and it was so fucking good.
Yeah, it was. There were some very beautiful, like, just images to sit with in that movie.
Yeah.
An infuriating character to watch.
Basically.
But, yeah.
Yeah. Even though the movie was like an hour and a half long Cinnabon commercial.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and he's one of those characters too, and I get it. I get what they were going for, but it was like one of those characters that you're just like, I cannot stand you. Why are you this? Why are you any of these qualities? Who failed you?
I have become more recently. I have become more in more deeply flawed characters. And I, like, granted, every protagonist should have flaws.
Sure.
But recently I've been more and more interested in like the really deeply like the protagonists that like you dislike.
Okay. Examples being, and you're not allowed to say Walter White.
No, I mean like, oh god, let me think. I'm trying to think. Example.
Well, like there was that one that Jake Gyllenhaal was, where he was that photographer, the filmographer who would go and
Yeah,
like hunt down
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, or like even going back to Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's old school. But like Shinji is the
Oh.
primary character, and he is like, you just hate him. You hate him
completely-
because he's so passive.
Yep.
But that makes it even more compelling because he's so
man.
like he's
See,
so like
that's-
deeply human. At least for me. Like I don't know. Like I hated him, but I also loved watching like him behave.
Neon Genesis is why I gave up on anime altogether.
Why you hate it?
And it was because of that character. So it's so funny. Like I totally get what you're saying. I understand, that's totally fine. But it was my like absolute contempt for that character that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. I was like, I can't do this. There's no way. I'm going crazy with how much I want to throw this kid in a wood chipper.
No, I totally get that. But it's a good example of what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't just mean characters that like you're supposed to hate because they're like bad. Because
Sure,
what they're doing
sure.
is like wrong. I
Okay.
mean like you dislike them because they. Okay, like BoJack Horseman is a good example.
Sure.
Right,
Okay.
like-
yeah.
He's like so utterly human, so
Almost-
flawed that like
Yeah.
you hate them for being the way they are.
Right. Almost any character
But
that
also
Will
you,
Arnett
like-
has played.
Appreciate. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Joe Bluth, who's just like
I
comical example of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he still works. It's like you kind of can't help but like him, but at the same time,
Yeah.
you can't stand him and you want him nowhere near you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe it's the kind of stories that I'm interested in right now or something. I don't know.
No, it's fair. It's fair.
But I think characters that are too like admirable can get to be kind of boring.
Eno stated that Shinji was written that way on purpose, so if you hated him, that was by design and was just as planned. And my hatred. Well, happy to oblige. I mean, the mission accomplished. Bravo. Awesome.
Like you hate him, but you have to just like you can't help but like feel bad for him simultaneously because like
Well, maybe I missed something because
like I think when did you watch it? Let me ask you that.
like at what age?
Yeah.
I was maybe 23.
Okay. So I just watched it like for the first time.
Okay.
Like, and I'm 26, so like,
Sure.
roughly the same age. But I think like I don't know. When I watched it, I couldn't help but feel bad. Like I hated him. Don't get me wrong. Like I hate the way he behaves. I hate everything he does. But I also like completely understand like the way he is because he was abandoned by like the people that are supposed to love you the most, your parents.
Right,
Like
right,
his father like keeps him at arm's length and basically is like emotionally abusive. And his mother died. And then so now he's got this complex for like he is constantly terrified that given the opportunity, everyone will abandon him.
Mm-hmm.
Or like under the right set of circumstances, everyone's going to abandon him. And that's such a human fear. That's such like a real fear that people possess. Like you can't help but empathize, even though you despise the way that he is. Because you want him to you want to idealize him. You want him to be the protagonist that like you want him to be. You want him to like save the day and do it like actively. You don't want him to be this passive character that's just like being thrown into situations and like being forced to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
You want him to like take charge for once, but he's just never going to be that way because that's just not who he is.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just an example.
No, good pitch.
I don't think it's like. Yeah. Plus, he's a teenager, so I mean, like, he wasn't fucking angsty as shit when they were.
I guess it
teenager,
was.
like,
Yeah, it's
constantly insecure.
like a little bit of that true to life.
Like I'm sure if I talked to a teenager who open up to me and said like, no one likes me, I'd be like, just
Yeah,
shut
yeah,
the fuck up,
yeah.
okay? Like, if people like you, if people are gonna like you, just relax. But like when you're a teenager, when you're that age, like that's your
That's life. Yeah,
is
exactly.
how other people perceive you and how
Yeah.
other people treat you. And like, I mean, I remember being that insecure when I was younger. Like,
Sure.
it's just the way you are.
Yep.
I think the reason we hate him is because we hate thinking about that again.
It probably was. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I compiled a selection of Kotor NPCs, so
Oh.
scan through. They're into the general chat.
Yeah.
In case you ever find any of the Kotor people who want to try their hand at identifying anyone.
So, did you put them in the Discord?
Yeah, the general Discord.
Let's see here. Oh, I'm gonna copy it into the chat or into the.
Sure.
Let me see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the man with no screen name. He's a fucking kid who is like being forced to fight these otherworldly
Yeah,
beings.
yeah.
Like, how could like what would you do if you were in that situation? You'd be shitting your pants.
Fine.
But yeah, you do want to like you just wring his neck. Just like shut up. Just stop whining. Please, God.
Okay, I didn't recognize anybody from there, so I guess
What about
all
the
of them
cell
opted
cap?
out. Hmm?
What about the cell cap?
Was that the alien in the corner?
The cell cat.
Yeah.
The temptation to make a joke about anyone who works at the company. No.
Yeah, the Cellcats are actually canon because they appeared in the Clone Wars,
Do
the
they?
animated series. Yeah, so
Wow.
they got saved from
From the Legends vortex.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. They're get the stuff that they'll keep and then get rid of.
Oh yeah, and also the Kotor ships. You know the Hammerhead ships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Hammerheads. That was I loved seeing that shit in Rogue One. That was like
Right.
a peak moment in that movie for me. Was seeing
They're actually
the
from
like
Rebels.
oh yes.
Like yeah, like they appeared in Rebels, and like they're different. The way that the director said it was like well they're not the exact ships, but they were probably inspired by a ship that existed a long time ago, or
Cough,
like-
cough.
Yeah.
like because like if you look at the cockpit in Rebels, they're it's way smaller than in Kotor, so it can't be the same ship and for stuff. But yeah, so like I guess it's continuity between three things. It's like Kotor, Rebels, Rogue One. It's like a triadic.
I mean, tell me that the guy was like, we're just gonna copy the Hammerhead from Trent.
Yeah. Well, no, it's because like they just want to pay tribute to it because like the rebels would have all sorts of like a mishmash of like different ships because they're like scrounging for them.
Sure.
God, I still that scene where the Hammerhead rams the Imperial Corvette and just like
Yeah.
slams it into the shield. Oh, it was a great scene.
Pretty cool.
Those are the moments I live for in Star Wars.
Well, I was just thinking, looking at this image, that I think I will call it here. I think at this point, I totally, obviously, I'm trying to totally overwork her. There's still stuff to be done, but I think now would be, if I move on, it'll be on to the next characters, just to try them out. So I'm gonna pause it here, and yeah, thanks again for jumping into the chat and for those who are watching. This has been just some rendering, a little bit more relaxed, and we'll see where I'm at with the next ones. The next image we'll see. I'm not sure how much I want to show. So I might be rendering again next time. But as a reminder, the next one will be again on Thursday in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from now, same night. And thank you for joining me in the chat and the Discord, and have a good night.